First ever Pop on the Cherry time here live on Face Out. J-Dog's back. Peps is back. And we've got the great man, Lee McKenzie. He's the man, Lee Mack. You know him on the chat and you know him from his awesome Spring Carnival tips that we'll go through today. But guys, plenty to talk about. Great to see the both of you. J-Dog, fantastic. You're looking awesome. Lee Mack, love the hat. A little bit of hashtag Stand by Herd.
You have to
stand by Herd. But we've been planning this for a couple of weeks now, and we've finally been able to get the three of us together. Welcome. We couldn't do it without you because we know that you've got so many good things to say about me and Jamie from the year in review. So I think it's time that we just get into it. But just give us a bit of a background who you are, because I've known you for 40 years, but the audience have known you for about 40 seconds. So
it is an unfortunate thing that I've known you for 40 years. I agree with that, Pepper, and I think we were mates in prep, and that's where it sort of ended. And unfortunately, I've known you through my whole schooling life, and then you pop up in your own podcast, and we do like to take the piss every week. Unfortunately, I'm now part of that. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But pleasure's all yours, and happy to be with you on it.
Oh, wait. Look, like I said to J-Dog, I said, mate, I'm going to get him on board because we know our sports, but you're a massive horse racing man, a massive NBA man. You've got a bit of the NFL in there. You love a bit of Formula One. You and J-Dog get on the chat every week about the Formula One, and I just sit there rolling my eyes saying it's glorified go-karting. But we thought you'd have you on board because we want to get your 2 cents worth. And also I have a couple of questions just about the sporting landscape, sponsorship landscapes, because you've got a fair bit of background just with all the whole COVID side of things. And how do you think that's going to affect it, not just obviously this year, but moving into the next couple of years? But let's get on to that fun stuff later on. J-Dog, how are you, mate? How's the family?
Family's good. We just had Christmas number 2 yesterday with my side, so that was good to get over that one. We drag it all out again. We get the brandy custard, the puddings, the meats, the meals. The kids are around. Yeah, it's a hectic time. But
and that's just
Peps,
private time with Alira.
Peps, I just want to quickly check before we start with Lee Mack on tonight's podcast. Do we have a little sound every time he drops a name, like the little Mario coin sound or something?
That's a good call.
We might be able to have something that we can run with, but I haven't got it set up right now. But I'll start calling him the cleaner.
Peps,
because that's how we have to call in every single time. This guy drops that many names.
I was actually going to get a montage behind me of just all those photos that, with all those different...
We've only got an hour. We have only got an hour.
Didn't have the time.
Wouldn't be enough time. And we've only got like 10 gig of bandwidth, so we
also,
wouldn't be able to...
Peps, I just want to make sure that that you're fully aware that you're basically throwing Burley out here because Lee Mack and I do talk about F1 at the end of the podcast. We try and sneak a little couple of minutes in there, and you are effectively our matchmaker tonight. So this could be the end of Lace Out and could be the start of
Burnout. Well, look, you know what? Look, every show has a branch off. Like NCIS has had their branch offs.
Yep.
911's had its branch offs.
Breaking Bad had one.
Breaking Bad.
2, actually.
Seinfeld, you name it. They were never as good as the original.
No, they weren't. So, Peps, what are we doing today?
Mate, we are just going to talk about that many sports because I think that, look, we're going to talk about footy because we're Lace Out because it's how you want your footy each and every single week. I mean, it's a show by the people for the people. So everybody who's tuning on tonight, welcome. But and everybody who's listening to us on Apple Podcast or Spotify, thanks for your reviews over Christmas. We've had a couple of cracking reviews. I've paid a few people, and we've got a couple up there, which is really good. And so the more the merrier. So don't be afraid to get on your favourite hosting platform and give us 5 stars because that's what we are. But we're going to start with footy. We start, and it's the most unique AFL season ever. An absolute barnstormer of a season where if you looked at January and said no one in Victoria will attend a game this year and the grand final will be played at night in Queensland, you'd probably be rolling your eyes. But that's exactly what happened. And Richmond, once again, just do what they've done over the last 4 years and just take it out back-to-back. Lee Mack, you'd be pretty used to back-to-back. What's it like?
We normally go back-to-back-to-back. But the thing about the Tigers is, look, there's a lot of talk about is this going to be an asterisk on their premiership or not? And I'm not a massive Tigers fan, but absolutely not. I think they've had to go and do it the hard way. The thing that I would say, though, is that were well placed and best placed to actually win the flag because they've got the experience. They know how it's done in September. They were the ones that were really set up to win. If you do go back to January and you knew what was going to happen, I think you'd have all your cash on the Tigers at the start of the year just to get it done.
Yeah, I'd agree.
100%.
J-Dog, what about you? Because we've chatted a fair bit about this. Has it got an asterisk? I don't think it does.
No. I mean, this is probably almost the most fairest ever season ever put together in the AFL. We had hubs, we had teams flying in and out, all playing in very much the same locations. It doesn't get much fairer than that. Everyone's had to go through the hub scene. I think it's pretty much bang on. It's not the Victorian bias we always talk about for interstate teams. I think it's a genuine win and really a great win by Richmond.
I reckon it's the fairest win.
It's a good point, J-Dog.
I'm a massive fan. What?
If you actually, quiet, Pepper. If you actually look at, the previous years when we go, hey, Victorian clubs are absolutely favoured because it's played down here. Well, you've got 2 Victorian teams playing in the grand final interstate. So it shows it is fairly fair. The thing I would say about the Tigers, though, that those Richmond supporters out there that do think that their 3 and 4 years are as good as the Lions of 1, 2 and 3, or the Hawks of 13, 14, 15, even Geelong of 7, 9, 11, they're dreaming. That team
suitcases out of them.
Yeah, the Lions clearly, from my point of view, being a Hawks man, but the Lions from 1, 2, 3 are clearly the best team that I've seen, superior to the other 2 and far in front of the Tigers.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
It was a different style of football when real men played football, which was around about the time I played. 2 of you would know what getting a hard ball was ever like, and we totally understand that. The only thing that I was shattered about from the entire season was the fact that they wanted goal line technology, they wanted spider cam technology. Where was happy hour cam around the pool in the hub? Because that would have been footage to tune into every single week, every single night. That would have been like the old Big Brother after hours.
I just want to stay away from the Cats hub.
Just like Gary Rowan. Anybody.
The old Big Brother night cam. The old Big Brother night cam in the bedroom.
Could you imagine the Gary Rowan red tea bag?
Oh, don't.
Oh, the old dancing doona.
Oh, that's just wrong. But I do like the fact that I think it was the fairest season that we've ever had. 17 games. I like I would actually love it if they played every game, every team once and once only. I think it would just add so much more. And then the year later, you just flip it around. So you play them at home one year, you play them away the next. It's not that hard to work out. It's just the AFL is so greedy when it comes to money. They've got to have their big blockbusters, and everybody has to play the big teams twice. So I don't think it has an asterisk. I think the teams when you're playing, as an example, next year, North, potentially Adelaide twice, there's where it's asterisk because you've got basically 8 points over teams that don't play them twice.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Lee, Night GF, you've heard Peps and I talk about it on the podcast in our wrap-up for this 2020 season. You a fan of the Knights Grand Final?
Yeah, it's one of the things I had for later on. Look, I think it needs another chance. It needs a chance in Melbourne. It needs its chance on a day that's not Cox Plate. So I think it needs another go. It needs another test and learn. And if that needs to be in Melbourne this year, let's do it and find out, because I think it could be something that could be really good. I'm not sure exactly if, it's going to work. But from a spectacular, if you had the right acts that were there in September, feels more like grand final day than, the back end of the Cox Plate, then I think, give it another chance. I think we'll see it again. It's just a matter of when, whether it's the upcoming season or every second or third year.
Well, I reckon you stuffed yourself up right there where you said if the AFL gets the right acts, they're never going to get the right acts.
But, Lee Mack, you do bring up a really good point, because during grand final day, that was what I was thinking about and totally forgot about the plate. Totally forgot about it. Do you reckon that probably hurt the TV audience for the plate, or? It
actually didn't. I looked at the TV audience. It was quite good for Channel 7 because they had it leading into the grand final. So they made everyone well aware. Normally on a grand final day, you'd have, the grand final breakfast and, everything going on. So people that were sort of tuning in looking for that actually watched it. But I think you just need that great, sort of lead in on grand final day to give yourself the opportunity into a night grand final to go, okay, it's going to work. I know from a broadcaster's perspective, absolutely they would want it. AFL are hamstrung at the moment when it comes to pleasing their, whether it's sponsors, but also TV rights. You see what's going on with cricket. I think it'll happen, and they might just rotate it every couple of years. Might be the way to go.
Yep.
It also sort of fits into the Dreamtime at the G when they did Dreamtime up in the NT. It was almost a similar sort of thing where it just seemed to fit perfectly. At night time in up north, traditional communities, it just seemed to work, and it makes you start to think, well, maybe they could do that every few years. Do they do it every 4 years? Play a nighttime grand final? I don't know.
Yeah, and during the year, you guys talked about it. I think I mentioned it in your chat that every 4 years might be the go with a state of origin on that year. That could be something that you could bring back, and even an under 26 or under 27 type style state of origin. So the older players, when they do get the chance when they're younger, they won't bypass it because they know they don't get another chance at it.
I think that's a fair point. I think that's a fair point from a marketing perspective or a sponsorship perspective, because that's what you've got a bit of a background working in and have worked in for quite a long time. Would that be something that sponsors would just literally just jump on if they knew once every 4 years that was an opportunity to pretty much showcase their brand? Yeah,
I think so. And I think it's probably more of a marketing event when it is once every 4 years, because you will get the right build up. I think if you have it every year, people, after 2 or 3 years, it'll lose the crowds again, like it had when it was dying off in the late 90s. So I think there's some options there that they make it a bit of a showcase. I'll be interested to see what the NRL do, because they had their state of origin at the end of the season, which I think was a good thing for the NRL, and not having it mid-year and taking away from their league in total. And I know that they value state of origin more than the actual NRL competition anyway, right? So if you had something like that, I think it could work. Yes, and you would get more dollars for it if it's a one-off type limited event.
Yeah, I like it. And
I could be in trouble if he keeps bringing this type of caliber every week.
Oh, well, it's about time someone starts to match it with me, because
you don't understand how much we felt sorry for you, J-Dog. But anyway.
No, I tell you what, Pep's already, they talk about moments and spark and that love at first conversation.
Yep.
Lee Mack and I have just got a spark, and I'm sorry. But I don't think we need contestants 2 and 3 anymore. Just push the wall back, and we'll go on our own date, paid for by Channel 9, whoever used to do that. What was that show called, Peps? I wasn't alive back when that show was on. You would have been.
Bit of Perfect Match.
He's older than me, mate. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I've got him.
I can see you on Man, oh Man.
We're talking Perfect Match with a bit of Dexter and Greg Evans.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Hey, when Jamie walks, he looks like Dexter.
Pepper, one for you. Where do we, after the grand final and I guess the wash up, where do we rate Dusty Martin after 3 Norm Smiths? You look at 3 players now that had 2 Norm Smiths, the likes of a Luke Hodge, a Gary Ayres, and a McLeod. This bloke's won 3. Maybe he should have won 2, but he's won 3 now.
I was about to say that.
Where does he rate?
He should have won the first one. Second one, pretty much. This year, definitely. I think this year he blew. He was the difference in that third quarter. And we went through that quite a fair bit in our recap of the grand final. Oh, look,
it has to be top. I mean, if we rate Jordan as GOAT, why can't we talk about Dusty being GOAT with all the medals and awards and individual stuff he's won and premierships?
It's a big call.
I don't know.
I couldn't have him yet there. I think he's a big time player. Absolute big time player.
I'm completely with you. Like, I still think the number one player I've ever seen play the game has been Wayne Carey. Like, I think he's my number one. But just purely based on the evidence you have in front of us in terms of accolades, Dusty is almost unsurpassed.
I know it's a tough one though, because then you got someone like Bob Skilton, triple Brownlow medalist, but never played a final.
Yep.
So where do you weigh them up?
I know.
Perfect. Here's another one. What about, Joel Michaels just come in with an absolute corker. He's just said, well, you know what? No, mate, not even in my top 10.
I don't disagree with that. I think it's a fair call. But like the awards, to J-Dog's point, don't lie. I wouldn't have him in my top 10 players of all time. Potentially not the top 20, but when you've got the numbers he's got a Brownlow and he's got 3 flags and 3 Norm Smiths. Well, it's tough to go past. What do you do?
I don't know. But then you also look at, Marlon Pickett, 2 flags in 20 games. Is he an all-time great? Because he's won 2 flags and Robbie Flower never got one. Played 2 finals in his entire career.
Robbie Flower was a champion in the wrong team. That's just fact.
Oh, no, he was a champion in the right team, just in the wrong era. Yeah. If he played,
if only he was born in the 40s, he might have played in some flags.
Or born in like 1890, and then maybe when Melbourne were one of only 2 teams in Victoria. I don't know. That would have worked as well. Yeah. So much competition back then in Melbourne for AFL.
So, Dusty, probably the best time finals player, best time player. I still think he's got a fair bit to go. I think the kids will look back, the generation after us, and when we're all dead and put in the grave, I think they'll look back and say he was probably one of the greatest, if not probably the greatest. I'll put it this way: there's 17 other clubs wishing they had him. Yep, exactly right.
Would you pick him first? Any other player in the league?
Now you've thrown a spanner, haven't you?
Maybe one for the listeners, Pep.
Oh, yeah. I'll put that one on the chat.
I would.
Who would you pick, listeners? Who would you pick? If you wasn't Dusty Martin, who would you pick as your number 1 player?
All right, let's move on to the next one.
So you can't go bringing the big guns in that quick. You've thrown me already.
This is a wrap-up show, Lee.
That's a wrap-up show. Let's starting things off. That's the first.
No, it's good. It's perfect. It's a good New Year's question for the beers at about 12 o'clock.
What I might do? This is something that I planned on doing. I might ask who your 3 votes was for this year.
3 votes.
Oh,
I might ask you who your 3 votes.
What my 3 votes were.
Hold on. Just because you're the guest doesn't mean you go first. There's an order to this. He's good, isn't he? All right, I'm going to go with you, Lee. Who is your? There we go. We do this 1 vote, 2 votes, and then
3 votes.
3 votes. C. Judd.
Right.
Who was your 3 votes, and what was your reason behind it?
I gave 1 vote to Ash Barty for someone who's number 1 in the world, doing things for female sport in this country, but then to show up at the finals drinking beers, happy days, puts a good spin on the tennis circuit, which is really struggling at the moment. So I'm giving her 1 vote.
Actually, Jamie, who was your 1 vote? Let's do it this way. Let's do a spin. Do you want to spin it around, or you want to go 3, 2, 1, J-Dog?
No, I'm one with Lee Mack with Ash Barty. I mean, top of the top female player early in the year. No coverage about it. Like, it was just amazing how she's so dominant in her sport and an Australian, and there was nothing to talk about it. There's no fanfare about it. If that was a Kyrgios or one of those little wankers, there'd be news everywhere. But Ash Barty, she definitely deserves number 1. She has been holding that flame for Australian female tennis now for a good last 5 years.
She is an absolute gun. I went with somebody completely different. I went with Cam Smith. His performance at the Masters this year, 4 rounds in the 60s, equal second. He shot the lights out. Unfortunately, he got beaten by Dustin Johnson, who had all the limelight taken away by his fiancée, Paulina Gretzky.
Oh, that's a very good call.
How he shot the lights out with her following him around the course, I don't know how he did it, but he just must be immune to it because she's an absolute stunner. But what he did, and I think it's almost a little bit the same of Ash Barty. If it was a Scott, a Day, old school Badley, it would have probably got a lot more coverage. But Cam Smith, mate, you need to pat yourself on the back because you've got a massive future, and he is a gun.
It's a very good call. I had a little sneaky each way on Cam Smith at 150 to 1 just quietly. So it did pay out the place. I got 35 to 1 the place. Happy days. But that could have been a Cam Smith for the Storm as well. And you did bring up Adam Scott. I'll refrain from talking about playing around a golf with Adam Scott. But there you go. Do you want 2 votes?
Give us our 2 votes. Give us your 2 votes. 2 votes.
Oh, this one put a smile on my face in a tough year. And for me, it was Charlie Axel Woods, the 11-year-old son of Tiger. who absolutely has a swing better than your eye, Pepper.
I'm playing tomorrow.
And also made us like Tiger again. This kid's got a future. It's going to be great to watch him grow up and, him win some major tournaments. I thought it was good to see him out there last week and, something a little bit different.
Yeah, it was nice. What about you, J-Dog? Your 2 votes.
My 2. I literally have no idea.
Here we go. Jamie starts to cut out because he's out in the bush there, and Alira's got a little bit tired on the bike powering the internet. So, just we'll give him a chance just to
Time for the power surge.
Buffer up, just to buffer up.
Seriously slow. I'm actually okay. So my 2 votes. I was going to go with 1 and 2, 2 and 3 of this. I'll go this number 2. The fact that we were able to get sport in 2020.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
All the leagues shifted. We all went into COVID lockdown protocols, bubbles, hubs, whatever you want to name it. All leagues did it, and we all had sport.
That's not a bad one.
100% agree with that.
At all. I can't disagree with that. And I don't think you'll be able to disagree with my number 2. With my 2 votes was Australian women's T20 World Cup champions at the start of the year. Full packed MCG. I took my daughter there. It's the game she's fallen in love with cricket. Absolutely adores it now. She can't wait to go to more games. And also to get a free Katy Perry concert at the end of it, which look, the AFL could probably take a few pointers on how to get some absolute stunning acts. She blew it away. She was amazing. So it was just an all-round experience, but also a team that has just been dominating for years to get that win that they really needed. And it was awesome to see.
Good call. Almost 95,000 people in the G for that day. Cracking day. And the question I have is Elise Perry or Katy Perry, who's more talented?
Look, apparently I am, because Joel Michael said that he had them as 1 vote, but he's happy to have them as 2. I would say Elise Perry, very talented, but we do know that Katy Perry was talented. 1.5 performances on the night. She was amazing. All right, give us your 3 votes. Give us your 3 votes.
Well, unfortunately for us, and it will be a quick one, this guy could win a Nobel Peace Prize because he's winning everything, and it's Dusty. Dusty has to get 3 votes because he gets 3 votes every time he plays anything. So it's an easy one for me. Dusty turned it on again when it was required. It was very much reminded me of a Dermot Brereton from the 80s who, through the season gets bored. When it comes finals times, turns it on and just destroys.
Is Dusty on your hit list? And what I mean by that is he on the photo/golf hit list?
No, unfortunately.
Oh,
It'll take time.
Planning on it or not planning on it to get a? Is he planning on getting a photo with you?
He could.
Photographed.
That's fair.
He could. That's fair. No, that's fair. Can't go wrong with that. J-Dog, give us your 3, mate. Give us your 3.
I've got it here in pencil, and I'm like, do I go with this or do I not go with it? I think I'm going to have to go with this one. My number 3 for the year was Melbourne missing the 8 by 2 points. That was because I think you guys had released a documentary to Hell and Back.
Yeah, that's where they took us.
And I think we saw the emergence of the Sunday spin-off show for Lace Out, which is Pep's Shed Session, where you would just absolutely lose your mind. You'd have Narelle yelling at you. You'd have your kids yelling at you. You had your kids videotaping you. You had meltdowns. You had moments.
Oh, I had rants.
You threatened to pull the boots on and play for Melbourne. Then you couldn't find the boots because obviously your football career's a lie. We've known about that. We've heard about you and your indiscretions for the year in 2020 with Danny Laidley. Like, it's just, I mean, 2020 as a Melbourne supporter has not only just shown your colours on the podcast, but then there is just so much spin-off and so much ammunition from it that you can take for 2021.
Yeah, tipping tables, we could call that. And I think, what it looked like to me is I think you were sponsored by Bunnings Warehouse because you mentioned Bunnings I don't know how many times during the year. So great call, J-Dog.
Yeah, They were. Aisle 42, that's where you can find an axe, and he finally swung it, and
Oh,
finally swung it at the,
that was
at the end
just
of the season.
I loved it, Peps. Those like every listener on the podcast, every bit of feedback we've ever had, everything on our Facebook has been, I hope Melbourne lose because we know we're going to get it. We know we're going to get a good one.
Yeah. To the point I had to sort of tone it down a bit towards the end. The blood pressure was getting a little bit too high. But I'll tell you whose blood pressure was not high. It would have been through the roof in excitement. And that would be every single Liverpool supporter taking out the EPL title after 30 years. I don't care what anyone says. You're not going to have an asterisk next to this one either.
Nope.
No one was walking alone with this one. My ex-manager, you know him, good old David Jones.
Yeah.
There's no other manager like him. And he was through the roof. And I asked him that exact same question. Do you put an asterisk next to it? He goes, hell no. Every other team went through it. That's actually quite a fair point. Every other team had gone through the same conditions and so forth that they did.
Mm-hmm.
They played well and they dominated throughout the entire year. And, you know, kudos to them too. And they've started off this year pretty well as well too. So I actually reckon, gentlemen, that's quite a nice collection of top three. So for the two of you and myself, I'm
3 votes.
3 votes. C. Judd. All right. Let's get on to the NRL. Let's pump through a couple of these. NRL, the Storm, well, they just did it again.
Yep.
Question without notice. Is the Melbourne Storm, pound for pound, the best sporting team in history based on the tenure of their length in the game?
No, we paid for it.
Pardon?
Yeah, well, that's
Paid
true.
for it.
Yeah, they have paid for it in more ways than one.
Paper bags.
Paper bags, yep. But based on that, you know, you got to take that into account. But their finals history, grand finals history, wins per every number of years is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't know if they are or they're not. I think what I guess the Storm needed or the NRL needed for rugby league to be successful in Melbourne is a team like the Storm, and they've absolutely smashed it over time. I do agree with Joel in relation to this year's win and being on the road. They did it tougher than anyone else. So they were on the road, the others weren't. Although he did just say they were cheats. But so yeah, for me, look, they're outstanding. Are they the best team? Don't know. Not close enough to it.
Oh, geez, he's gone hard, hasn't he, J-Dog? He's gone hard.
No, I like it. And look, I'm not huge. Like I'm an NRL supporter when it just comes to Storm. Like my lens is purely on Storm, and that's about it. Being a Melbourne person, but what I like about it is they seem to lose all these big name players to other clubs, and they seem to just have someone in the wings just waiting to fill that spot, and that's been impressive now for over a decade.
And they one cog goes out. It's almost like the Clarkson mentality, isn't it? One cog goes out, and another one goes straight back in. They know their role. They know what they need to do there. You know, you would have thought that when Cooper Cronk leaves and
Billy Slater
leaves, you're thinking, okay, these guys are going to go backwards. Cam Smith's on his last legs, and they're still able to do it. And they're going to lose a couple others next year as well. At O'Kara things off, they'll still be in the mix. They just know what to do every single year. Mind you, Hub Life has caused a few issues again. Good old Mitchell Pearce has decided to get on the SMSs, and well, what was it? A couple of weeks out from his wedding. Apparently, it's all off or postponed, as they would say in corporate speak.
Yep.
I think this guy's got any idea?
The NRL is the gift that keeps on giving. And you talk about sponsorship. From my perspective, it was always one we would like to steer away from because the risk was way too high with this sort of stuff happening. It may have happened, and it did happen in the 90s and early 2000s in AFL and or later than that, but they probably just deal with it better than what's been going on for a long time with the NRL, and it continues to happen.
Yeah,
they just don't learn their lessons, do they? Like, I know the AFL had a bit of it with their Hub Life. Callum Jones, Sydney Stack, Pickett from Melbourne, Jesse Hogan had their issues, but it was quite sporadic when the way that they were doing it. But the NRL, just when they take 2 steps forward, they're able to just take 3 steps back.
Yeah.
They're just... I don't think they're ever going to learn. It just must be that culture that the game has. I don't know.
I will give them credit, though. They do put on a better night grand final than the AFL.
Agree with that.
Yeah. They do anything better. The entertainment's better, everything. They just know how to do it. All right. NBA. The Lakers, they just took the piss again, didn't they? LeBron, isn't he the greatest? I'll throw it out to you, the gentlemen. That's a question without notice. That's also probably one of my quick hands to Lee Mack. LeBron or Jordan? You were talking about, would you put Dusty up against the wall? Who would you take out of the two?
Yeah, it was one of my questions I had as well. But look, being a kid of the 90s, I'd take Jordan just for the way he went about it. And he was that dynamic in saying that no other player in history has won an MVP in the final series in 3 different teams like LeBron has done. He seems to go from team to team and win championships. Now, if you look at what Jordan did, he built a team around him over that time. You could say which one works better. I don't know, but you shift around. He's delivered the first, NBA championship to LA in 10 years, in a year that the Lakers needed, right after the unfortunate death of Kobe and his daughter. To come through with the goods for the Lakers, outstanding. It's a tough call. I'd go with Jordan, but I can understand that the numbers probably add up the other way. That I was going to say Kobe, but LeBron could be the man.
I'm just reading one of the comments, John Michael. I reckon it's Jamie said it earlier on. I think it's a generational thing. I reckon if you in the last 15 years, it's LeBron, and if you were in the Jordan era, it's Jordan era. It's as simple as that. And then you know what? If you were 10 years behind us, you'd say it's either Bird or Johnson.
Or Will Chamberlain.
Or whoever. How far back do you want to go? I think it is generational. But, I'd just take Jordan. I don't know. There was just something about him growing up that he was almost the guy who gave the NBA the explosion that it needed, coupled with another person that I'll mention very, very shortly. But he was the guy that just set it alight. And he actually set it up for these people like LeBron and the way the game is being marketed now. He was a superstar beyond his years, and his 6 championships. And you've got to remember, he got 3 of those, went off and played baseball, which he wasn't too shabby at, and came back and still picked up another 3.
He was pretty shabby, but he was playing minor leagues. But at the end of the day, you come back and do it like that. The Last Dance sort of gave you a bit of an insight to actually the type of person he was and how driven he was, how many people he hated, how many people hated him. But absolute superstar.
Those same people who hated him would have loved to have been on his team.
Well, those same people that hated him that were on his team wouldn't have had the rings that they got.
Exactly right, which you can all find down at Porn Stars. If you watch any episode of them, they've all been pawned. Porn Stars.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So you did mention Kobe and his daughter passing as well too. That was a massive shock to anybody, regardless if you're an NBA lover or not. The whole way it's happened. I mentioned to Jamie. I found out. We got a tent. Put it out in the backyard, and the kids and I slept in it. We woke up, and I just grabbed the phone out and I had a look, and you see trending Kobe Bryant, RIP, and you're looking and go, what's going on here? And it's just one of those things that there's things in history where you're always going to remember where were you. That's going to be one. I don't think that's ever going to go away. Just for the whole way it's happened. It's a real shame. It just is a real shame. All right, gentlemen, I know this is the moment that everybody's been waiting for. Formula One time. I'm going to hand it over to the two of you. All right. Fellas, listeners, you can't see this, but these two have their chests they've both peacocked out. They've just lubed themselves up. They're just looking sharp. They've oiled up the bodies. They're strutting Wayne Carey style to full forward. Lee McKenzie's pumping a bit of Dermy 23 to full forward. Barrel chest chicken legs. I'm just going to sit back and let these two go berserk for at least the next 3.5 minutes, which is apparently all that they're good for anyway.
I don't know. Lee Mack, as much as I loved this season, I did not love another Mercedes championship. This year was weird because we've had our dominant periods through every Formula One iteration of cars, Red Bulls, McLarens, Ferraris. We've all been there, but really, this is the 7th year in a row. I'm just getting a bit tired.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the bonus out of the year was the compact season that you did have it on every week, and you did have a few different winners here and there. Yes, absolutely. Hamilton was absolutely dominant, winning his 7th but then you had, I guess, the rise of some young stars here and there, and that midfield race became a race for the podium, really, because Max liked to put his car on a wall here and there, which was good to see. But then you see, the likes of Pierre Gasly do what he did and have a win, and others that were new to the podium, which is great to see. The exciting part of this year for me was what next year looks like. With the amount of change that is happening again. The biggest disappointment was probably Ferrari and the likes of Sebastian Vettel and what he turned out this season was really, really average. Whether it was the car, I think it was, and even Leclerc doing the same sort of thing. What was your thoughts on the Ferrari team? Where do they go from here?
Oh shit! It's just. Ever since I think it was like round 13 last season when they got accused of cheating, but not cheating. But Red Bull wanted a bit of an investigation into what was happening over there, and then all of a sudden they just dropped off the pace. I just think Ferrari in a bit of a free fall at the moment. I think they've got some factory changes going on. You've got Binotto still there, is going to be team principal next year. I think you've got a new guy in the background now pulling the strings for Ferrari, so they've seemed to have lost a couple of technical people. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think Ferrari are too big and too proud to keep falling like they did. I think they finished sixth in this year's constructors, so that's odd. I suppose the one good thing I've got out of Ferrari is the fact that I actually like Sebastian Vettel now. At Red Bull, I used to hate him. I thought he was a brat. But you actually now, I'm starting to see him a bit more humble, and he's actually a pretty good bloke, and that's been one good thing.
Do we think that Ricciardo's dodged a bullet by not getting a seat there and going to McLaren?
I think so. Ferrari seem to be a very unique organisation. I mean, Sebastian Vettel is no slouch. We know that. Four-time championship winner. He's no slouch at all. I think Leclerc is just driving the wheels off that thing. I think he is, as you said, the next generation coming through, the Landos, Leclerc's, the George Russells. I'm not going to say Ocon just yet. But, I mean, there's a really good strong there. Then we've got Team Haas, who just decided to dump both their drivers, and that's an interesting conversation at the end of the year with Mazepin and the controversy around that.
The son of, and the son of coming in.
And the son of, yeah. So, look, I'm with you. I've never really watched mid-pack racing before because it hasn't really ever interested me. But when a team is lapping everyone up to about sixth position on the track, you have to watch it.
Absolutely. And for you, Pepper, Mick Schumacher, son of Michael, is getting a seat next year with the Haas team. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. And it's good to see that Christopher's on mute, and hopefully that can stay that way for the rest of 2020. I guess there's that. Yeah, you look, Ocon and Alonso being the other one coming back in. What's he going to do at, I guess, Alpine, not Renault anymore?
Not Renault.
So that'd be interesting to see if he's still got it.
Yep.
I question if he has. The fact they're going back there, I don't know.
Cash.
Here, no cash. Here,
he's back.
Well, Haas are like that. I mean, they dropped. I've only just recently watched the Formula One doco on Netflix, season 1 and 2. That is so good. Like, Gunther Steiner is an absolute hard ass, and I love him. But geez, I feel sorry for Grosjean. Like, I'm like, that guy has just got mental demons.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great series, and that's what got me into the mid-pack racing, to be totally honest. Watching that series and seeing how they all mentally deal with it. You look at the likes of Albon, who's lost his seat, Fiat that lost his seat, what's going on at Red Bull and AlphaTauri. The only one that's stable from this season is going to be Max, and then you've got Perez coming across. I think Perez would be great for Red Bull, make them super competitive. But what does it mean for their second team? I just don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then obviously Ricciardo, the big one there, jumping after only one season with Renault. And then Renault showing some really strong progress this year. I wouldn't say it's probably at the level of the 2018 season, But I mean, you are now. They were improving. They were much closer to Mercedes, much closer to McLaren's, and a bit closer to Red Bull as well. So, but I think he's done the right thing. I think McLaren are going to improve a lot. They've just got another. Did I read the other day like 140 something million coming?
I think it was something like that. I mean, the following season's going to be the season, right, when it all kicks in with the new cars coming in.
2022. You're right.
That's
You're
the
right.
go. I think they're just setting up for them. Pepper looks like he's glazing over.
But they're another sport that, they started off their season in shocking form. They called the race off on the day for Melbourne due to COVID.
That's when COVID became real for me.
That was when it all kicked in to say that, no, we're that's it. And well, what are we going to do? And for them to be able to get, and it's not like golf. It's not like tennis. I understand that, there are the logistics side of things behind it, but we're talking not just logistics for players. We're talking cars. We're talking truckloads of equipment have to be shipped from one country to the next. And to determine, are we going to continue going on with this or not in front of no crowds, which you would think they would need to have crowds for the expenses of this particular sport.
Yeah.
For them to continue on was, like you said, nothing short of extraordinary. And they did it right. The AFL did it right. NRL did it right. Tennis did it right until I think it was Novak Djokovic thought he'd run his own little tournament thing and stuffed everything up.
Yeah.
You're taking away from who I might be benching. So
okay. Well, does that mean? Well, all right. We'll get all right. We'll do that in a moment. But I think even from a motorsport perspective, it was one of those sports because it's so expensive to run, to hold, to host, etc. You thought that it would have bitten the bullet, but the V8s did it. Formula One have done it. They've got through, and I think that's what a lot of them tried to do this year is just get through.
Well, they definitely got through, and how they got around half the planet with a pandemic was amazing. And yes, you had two drivers go down with COVID. So
Perez
and Hamilton, Stroll and Hamilton, wasn't it?
Hamilton got it and still won the championship.
Yeah,
but that just goes
so amazing.
I must admit, I don't mind watching a bit of Formula One. Not as much as you two, but I'm a bit like you. It's almost a farce what's happening at the front. It's all the stuff in the middle that gets you a little bit excited.
Well, Peps, you're happy to know that next year they're going to start bringing in some salary caps. So 140, and for the bottom teams up to about 135 for Mercedes. So they're trying to equalize.
Million or 1,000?
$1 million. Yeah, $1 million. So Peps,
Oh,
I mean, we're talking about, obviously a cheap sport to run.
Well, I've got a couple of spare bucks. Maybe we could throw a team together.
We could probably do better than Haas. Or Williams at the moment.
Well,
definitely.
Anyway,
Williams.
so let's talk about Lee Mac. This is your specialist area.
Here we go. Strap yourselves in, ladies. Dinner's served because
ovens on.
When the big boys come out to play, it's spring carnival time. And we brought this man in today because if there's anybody who's going to give us the spring carnival review that is going to make everybody else jealous, it's definitely not this guy.
And as my mum would say,
absolutely,
you two are here to talk about it because, as mum will say, you guys have got more dollars than cents.
Okay, and we'll hand this one over to Lee Max. So how did you see the spring carnival from a perspective of watching Melbourne Cup Day with no one in the stands? Was one of the strangest experiences that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and trying to get excited about it was almost foreign.
Yeah, and really difficult to watch, right? Because it was something completely unique. I'll go back though to what J Dog said earlier. I think the biggest victory for the racing industry was that they didn't miss a meeting throughout COVID. For those people that work in the industry, let's forget about the gambling industry, right? Because we know what that can do to people's lives. But the fact that there's that many people working in the horse racing industry that were able to stay employed and keep moving around, huge result to have that on throughout the whole racing season. To get to the spring carnival, yet jealous of Sydney at the time because they had their call it semi-spring carnival and the Everest and people everywhere where you get down to Cup Day and you couldn't even have owners on track.
Yeah.
Really difficult to watch. That was one of the best things I still think about the industry getting through it all. Cup Day, tough. It was good if you backed the winner though, and I did, which was a great result. So for me, the highlight of the the Spring Carnival was the win of Master of Reality for a variety of reasons, not just because I had the cash
Give us
on.
those tips. Were those ones on the Facebook site for everybody to do?
100%. I had a massive cup day. Gamble responsibly. The key thing out of that though, right? You've got a jockey like Jai McNeil, young fella, who was entrusted to ride this horse of Lloyd Williams. We all know Lloyd's a battler. He's only won 7 Melbourne Cups. He's absolutely given the instructions to go out and lead. Now, if you think about the history of the Melbourne Cup, and you probably don't know that much of it, it's a 1861 was the first. There's only been one other horse that's led all the way and won, and that was Might and Power. All right. So his instructions were to lead and take off at the 600. And thinking about it, last year, the horse ran second last year, got back on protest, back to fourth with Frankie Dettori on board, arguably the greatest jockey of all time. So Jai McNeil goes on, rides it to absolute T, gets the chocolates at 35-1. Happy days. Good thanks. Everyone's happy in my household. So a massive shout out to him.
I know you say happy in your whole household, but does the whole household know that you got it at 35s?
Well, there's a rule of thumb that it becomes 50% to 5%. It's sort of, yep, I had a good day. Had a good day. Who's going on?
You know that you had a good day?
Had a good day. That's all we need to know. It's a good day.
Had a good night.
Yeah, absolutely. There was some takeaway dinner and some flowers.
Oh.
And some Netflix and chill. But the key thing...
He's a romantic, this one, isn't he?
The key thing, the challenges, though, if we think about the racing industry, and they've got a lot of headwinds, the biggest disappointment, if you look at Melbourne Cup Day, was the second favourite breaking down in the race. That was, there was 29 horses that came out from overseas. 3 of them died, 2 of them broke down. That's a high percentage of overseas horses breaking down here. And at the moment, they're all going to Werribee, to the training facility down in Werribee. Now, not to bore you on horses here, but these horses that come from Europe are trained on long, straight, uphills, downhills, beaches, etc. They go to Werribee. They're running around a tight track, around corners very quickly. J-Dog, you'd know when you go for a run, if you change up what you're doing in training and you're in a confined space, your legs feel it. Yeah. And that's what happens down here. You absolutely change up what it looks like with your training, and these horses feel their legs when they come to Australia. So they've really got to do something about where they quarantine. And Werribee's not the go.
Two words. Why don't they just do what we did when we brought...
They just do. That's 5 words, you nuffy.
Hang on, I'm just making a point here. The 2 words are compression garments. Didn't they put...
Skins. Give them skins.
Didn't they put the Australian horse over there and they went and ran that golden jewel or crown or something, the Australian one that never been beaten, and just put him in compression garments for like 2 weeks?
All right, it's Black Caviar. It's the Golden Jubilee, and it was 25 straight. So... yes, they put her in compression garments, but not when she trained, right? So this is the difference on the legs and what they feel it around here. And they generally race on softer tracks. So the issue is when you've got 1 in 6 breaking down that come from overseas, you're going to get people going, this is not going to be good. Yeah, I do agree with Joel. He's a West Coast legend as well as a Hawthorn legend. The other issue for the industry is the whip rule. There's talk of getting rid of the whip. Which is a problem for people in the industry because they did change the whip. In the past, it was a proper whip.
And it's a pad, isn't it?
Now it's just a padded piece of foam that you wash your car with, held by a 50-kilo short person, riding a 500-kilo horse, right? So the necessity for the whip is really to control the horse when required. It's not something that hurts the horse. Again, there's rules in play, but the problem being that those activists that are out there wanting to shut down the industry will point at this and say it's inhumane. Now,
and the jockeys say that they use it sometimes in their guide hand just to show the whip to the horse, not actually use it, but just to show. You
can absolutely see it. So they've changed the rule where you used to be able to raise the whip almost like a windmill type style and hit the horse.
Yep.
Now you have to keep your hand below your shoulder, so you can't raise it. You're literally giving it a backhander to do that.
I don't want to interrupt you, mate, but are you embarrassed to be on tonight's podcast? Because, like, you can show your face on the screen.
It's gotten very dark in here. I shut the curtains. Can you see me at all?
Oh, we can see the reflection off your head.
I've got a good face for the chat. Let's just
You've
say
got a great face for the chat.
I can fix the.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll work on it next year. We'll get you some lights. We'll get you a sponsorship deal.
Yeah. So the deal there is, if you're going to get a lot of the lefties continue to push for banning of the whips and all that sort of thing, the industry is going to continue to come under a lot of pressure. And then you start talking about things like sponsors. Do they really want to be there when they're hearing all this stuff from the minorities? So the challenges are there. I think the highlights, Mr. Pepper, thinking forward. We've got a young jockey in Victoria called Campbell Rawiller, who I think will be a very much a staple name through the industry. He's only an apprentice at the moment. He's a nephew of.
I was about to ask.
Yep.
I was about to ask, is it Brad's
nephew? So Nashville Willer's son. He's outstanding for a young fella, and I think if you keep an eye on him, put your hard-earned on what he's riding, you'll get some cash back.
Look, I'm not a gambling man. Look, the only punts that I have on is multis, 5-6 leg multis during the footy season. That's about it. A couple of bucks each year, mind you. Jamie and I, that's the most excited we get for football when our teams are going pretty putrid. But unlike his was all right this year, but I think there was a couple of times where Jamie and I started watching Hawthorn versus Sydney in a wet game just to see if Isaac Smith could get 15 possessions. And I think he nailed the 15 in Eustis, so we were jumping for joy.
Actually, Peps, you're
Melbourne,
right.
It was like Melbourne winning a game.
I don't bet because it's the same reason I don't smoke, because it's for dickheads. But I'm going to say I do love when you send me through your multis on a Saturday, and I can just bet through you, but get excited for whatever I was watching, whatever game, because some of the games of AFL this year were pretty putrid. So it's good to see some of them.
Exactly right. And when we've lost him, but when you have a game where it's absolutely nothing going on, we've lost him. Lee Mack's gone down, everybody. He's lost the camera. There sounds like a crash.
No, I just got called a dickhead. That's all. So I
got tripped over his ego. You got to have a bit of a laugh when it comes to the footy, because there's too many putrid games, and you got to have a bit of a flutter here and there. And look, like you said, gamble responsibly. Know your limits.
Of course,
and
always do that.
You only need one decent win, and that's going to cover you for the rest of the year. So it's pretty good. Hey, listen, I think it's time for us to. We went through our good stuff earlier on. I think it's a chance to go through our. Well, let me just put it this way.
Haley off, Ellingworth on. Bloody weak as piss.
Just like picking on Lee Mack and Jamie's hairlines, that'll never get old. Let's start with your number one. Just you're disappointing. Who needs to get dragged for 2021? Let's go in reverse order this time. I'll go first. I'm going to go, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier. It's to all the nuffy footballers out there, and you know who you are. COVID breaches. Like, seriously, you're getting paid this much money to play the game that you love just because you can't keep it in your pants for 5 minutes, or you have to go and get a kebab, Sydney Stack style. You could have thrown the game into jeopardy just for your stupidity. And when a game was on, such a tenterhook for so long, for people just not to realise you can't do this sort of stuff. Like, even Harley Bennell. Harley Bennell was 1 day away from potentially getting another contract with the D's, and decides to go on an all-night bender and just stuffs everything up, and now he hasn't got a career to go back to. After what he put his body through for so long, to get it back to where he was, to finally play some AFL football, we could have set him up for the next year. It's just dumb, and it's just disappointing. And I'm throwing that out to all the people in New South Wales right now who are listening to this. If you know somebody who's breaching it because they want to get their doof on, give them a slap to the back of the head and say, you know what? You can wait. Just jerk the gherkin, do whatever you need to do, and don't worry about it. Over it. Fucking bullshit, mate. All right, J-Dog, over to you.
My drag is 2020 cricket. God, it just drags. It's killing me now. It's killing me start of the year. Too long. Just change it back. Go back. That was so boring. That needs a change.
What do you mean needs to change?
Well, the season now finishes in what, mid-Feb?
Oh, they've got it wrong, haven't they?
They've got it really wrong. I get disinterested come middle of Jan. I'm done.
Well, the Big Bash really stuffed their season up, didn't they, when they decided to extend it out to more than the virtually play each other once and a double blockbuster. As soon as they decided to jump the Shark Fonzie style, it's gone completely back in.
Yeah,
They need to move it back to where it was.
Move it back and shorten the games.
Move it back.
Is that T20 or is that BBLs? T20 internationals or just BBLs?
Just BBL.
Yeah, I agree.
I think what BBL has done, though, is really taken the steam out of other sports. So cricket really now owns summer. You don't hear the A-League. The A-League went through a small period of growth, and then it really died off. BBL thrived, NBL thrived, and I think in that summer period, there's really only room for 2 big leagues.
They need to go back into, don't they?
Yeah, and I think the soccer absolutely has got to do that.
And they're expanding too. That's the thing. Is it's not as if the game is stagnating, yet they're bringing in more teams. So Western United's brought in, MacArthur's, I think, in New South Wales, they've come in as well too. So they're bringing more teams in, more games, yet there's just no buzz about the game anymore. The A-League is... Like if I told you that the A-League season, I think, kicked off last night, there's nothing in the media. There's not. It's just It's almost like the BBL to a degree. What the BBL was in its first couple of seasons in the A-League is nothing what it is now.
Yeah, it's halted.
And so what do? You either keep going down the same way, or you go, hold on, do what the NBL did, pull the brakes on it, and go, okay, let's stop it and let's just strip it back to bare, and we'll build it up again.
Yep.
They have to do soccer. They definitely do have to do something.
What's yours, Lee Mac?
Well, it's interesting because we have mentioned this guy earlier. Needs to be benched, needs to be delisted potentially. Doesn't turn up in finals. We all know who we're talking about. It's Gary Rowan. He's only doing damage in his own backyard, and we know what that's been. This guy's got talent, all right? This guy absolutely is quick. He can run, he can kick goals, but he does not turn up when the pressure's on. He didn't turn up in the final series for the Swans in 14 or 16. He's not doing it for the Cats.
Favorite child.
Sounds like it. And that's bourbon. That's what you do when you get your dad bourbon. So the
favorite child.
So Gary Rowan, from my perspective, is causing more problems than good. He needs to be benched and forgotten about for a long time.
Hey, you know how you also mentioned a little bit earlier, and it sort of flows into what you were saying with the under-26 game. There'll only be 17 clubs being able to participate in that because Geelong don't have any players under 26.
Cats are out.
Cats are out. And that would make up everybody on Gold Coast list before they go to another club. All right, my two votes is a bit of an interesting one. It was AFL Brownlow night because it went way too long. It was virtual. But the fact that the Brownlow medalist, Lachie Neale, had a sensational year, has a sensational other half, had to present his own medal to himself, that just looked bad. Like you reckon like Chris Fagan couldn't have done it, the captain of the team couldn't have done it, somebody, they couldn't have, Blighty, they could have brought Blighty in to have a bit of, it just looked amateurish. And they're the sort of things that the AFL do just when you think that they've taken it, then they do something like that. It just wasn't right. It just was so I can't wait to see people back at the Brownlow. I've never been to a Brownlow before. Have you ever been to a Brownlow, Jamie?
No.
I have to go to a Brownlow.
Lee, have you been to a Brownlow?
I know where this is heading.
Have you ever been to a Brownlow? One
or seven.
Have you ever
night.
met any like famous people there?
You know, the night that Sam Mitchell won his Brownlow, I got a photo with Joe Watson, which was all fun.
There's 2 coins there in the Mario sound effect.
Ching, ching.
Ding, ding. Drop another one. We're gonna make a one of those jars that we put $1 in.
I just want Mario Kart come across the bottom of the screen like Daddles the Duck.
Ding, 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 ding. It sounds like the Pokies. He's a good bloke. He's a good bloke, Leroy. Absolutely love him.
Peps, would you have preferred to see like the meter maids from the Gold Coast present?
Anybody could have done it. Jeez, I would have got Warren Kappa to do it. I would have got Leanne Kappa to do it.
Kappa every year.
Anybody to do it. It just didn't look right that somebody had to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I think you're being tough. I think you're being tough on what's been a tough year.
No.
They missed the boat on that, but
No, yeah, I think they missed the boat on it. I just thought it was a bit rough. All right, over to you, J-Dogs.
Next one. Next one that needs to be benched.
Yep.
You got your placement? Very good. V8 supercars. That is done as a sport. I have got no more interest in watching cars that I'm never going to buy. I'm never going to barely see on the road. I have no interest in watching American cars drive around Australian tracks. Bring back touring cars.
Yeah.
Bang on.
That. Yeah. I want Jim Richards calling everybody a bunch of dickheads again. I want those days back.
You know, like
I want the
it's
four-wheel
a
drive
sad-
Skylines whipping
it's
around.
a sad
The
state.
Nissan
that we're gonna
Skyline.
have- Yeah, Skylines, like the Volvos, like the small Fords, like bring back the categories again because I don't want to see a Camaro. I don't want to see a Ford Mustang. I think I'm just no interested in them, and you can't get those cars really they're not really Australian cars anymore. Like
I 100% agree with you, and it's not watchable. It is absolutely not watchable, and I'm glad you put that up on screen, Pepper, because I think that is an absolute cracking comment.
So someone has decided to, Heath Buxton, just never get this bloke to cook you a roast when you go camping because you'll still be waiting for it 12 months later.
with a name like
Over
Heath, though,
24
you'd
months,
be a
India
good
has won
camper.
the same number of games at the MCG as Melbourne and Carlton. That's not bad, Bucko. That is not bad.
All right,
Okay.
what's yours, Lee? What's yours?
Yeah, mine is I'm benching Eddie Maguire for a variety of reasons. I think we've all saw him lambaste the players initially when they had their COVID breaches. Then when they were from his team, he was 100% supportive of them and went after Lloydie. You don't go after a Bernard's boy. And then he went there again. And then his coach went and played tennis. Should we say tonsil tennis with
Alicia.
Alicia. And then he still defended them. So there's that part of it. The next piece is he comes out and says he's going to step down a year early from his presidency. And the day after, he announces a $1.4 million loss for the club. That's convenient timing, if you ask me. He might need to find a millionaire just quietly to fill the hole that he's left there. So it's time for him to go.
He's all right, mate. He is the weakest link.
He's got to go.
Peps?
Yeah, I just think, his time's done. I'll tell you what, though, I would have loved him at Melbourne.
He's done some great
Any
things.
club would love it. He's done some fantastic things, but geez, he shot himself in the foot a couple of times. He's got this lingering Heredia Lumumba thing still sitting in the background with the culture at the club. There's also been so many whispers.
Hang on, just on the phone to the lawyers. No, Peps, you can't mention that name on our podcast because
Jamie,
we are in threat of being sued or something on Facebook.
J-Dog, for us to get sued, somebody has to actually hear it.
Well, we've got two on our chat tonight.
Yeah, we don't count.
We've got more podcasts. We've got more podcasters than we do actual people on our.
More people on this podcast than Melbourne won games at the MCG apparently this year. All right, my 3 votes, and this is sort of stuff that was brought up a little bit earlier, but just the overall deaths in sport this year. And when I say deaths in sport, just some of the greats have passed on. And you're going to have that every single year, but we mentioned Kobe Bryant and his daughter earlier on in the year. Diego Maradona's passed on. Dean Jones has passed on. Sterling Moss passed. One person who I mentioned a little bit earlier was Michael Jordan. He's still with us. But another one of the people who set the game up for what it is now is David Stern, who was the commissioner of the NBA. He passed on this year as well too. And just one guy you may not know, his name is John Huber. He was otherwise known as Luke Harper or Brody Lee. He was a wrestler. He's just died of he was just training. Something happened, had an injury to his foot, and then blood clot into his chest and has just passed away in the last couple of days, like totally out of the blue. Like he was only on TV less than a month ago.
Yeah.
And so, it's just these sort of things, they always say it might be steroids or whatever, and it had nothing to do with that. But I just think when you have a year where it makes you appreciate what you have as a family person, mates. That's why I love doing this every single week, because it's sort of just it's a bit of an escape from everything that we do. Yeah, we talk a bit of crap and we pick on each other, but deep down, like, it just grounds you with where you are. And then when you see people pass away for various reasons, and a lot of them no fault through their own, just old age or just illness, it just sort of just kind of sucks. And I know it's not a great way. It's not a 3 votes I'd like to share, but I think it's just disappointing that there's some of those names there that were leaders in their field that will just never get to grace our screens again, grace our sporting fields again, grace our headphones again, grace our screens again, full stop.
Mm. Yep. Well said. And I think, Dean Jones for me is, growing up, absolute hero. And to see what happened and the circumstances that we lost him, absolutely tragic.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think that's been one that's, because of all the stuff that he went through. We know through the 80s and his massive innings he played over in India. His one-day cricket, he was just someone that drew the crowds in, got the short end of the stick from the selectors, whoever it might be. He should have played a hell of a lot more Test cricket than he did. Everybody wanted to be Dino when we were growing up. Jamie, it might have been a little bit before your time.
No, I love Dino.
All right, then.
Loved him.
That's a tough one. But I must say, what they did as a bit of a tribute to him on day 1 at tea time, it was just nice. They did it nicely. And I think that's something that I think sports across the board have got better with over the last probably 10 or so years, is really celebrating the ones that when they move on.
Yep. All right, let's move on quickly. We've only got a little bit of time left.
Yeah.
Let's move on to one prediction from each of you for the 2021 AFL season.
Okay, hold on. You haven't given your 3 votes. And
no, that's enough. That's enough for me.
I just need to put Joker under the bus. That's
good.
it.
Good.
He needs to go under the bus. He's an ass clown.
Okay, so AFL prediction for next year. Geelong. Okay, now you guys go first. I'll go with mine last.
You go, Lee Mac.
Are we going 1 and 1 only?
I'm going 1.
1. If you got 2, that's fine. Makes up for my crappy one that I'm going to roll out.
I'm going to go with Leon Cameron being the first coach to be sacked. I think the Giants are going to be in a world of pain early on, and by mid-year they're not going to make finals, and they'll be angling to get Clarko there the year after. I think he'll go.
I like it. Mine is every week is going to be a sellout for AFL football. I think we're going to still be having COVID restriction games, and I think that every crowd is going to be a sellout.
I like that. All right. Mine, first one, Gillan McLaughlin will resign by the end of the year and give up his post. That's my first one. And the second one is Geelong, regardless of all these people that they've brought in, will not make top 4. And we'll go out in the first week of the finals.
Okay. Very good.
Good.
With a close follow-up of St Kilda. Oh, I don't want to say it, but top
really?
I don't want to say it, but I sort of have to. All right, let's go out. Okay, let's go. Quick hands, everybody. Quick hands. Yep. Let's punch a question to every single person. J-Dog, you started off. Question for me. Question for Lee Mac. Go for it.
All right. Question for you, Peps.
Yep.
You're approaching pensioner age.
He's older than me.
How do you feel stacking up against what Greg Norman's bringing to the party?
Oh, geez, I tell you what.
That photo was unbelievable.
He was smuggling a family of 4 in his pants right there.
That is a
you ever
great
seen the movie This is Spinal Tap? He
Goes to 11.
Zucchini. I can understand why the dog was so happy. Let's put it that way. Oh, what a rig.
What a rig. And one for you, Lee Mac. Do you still believe in Clarko for the Hawks?
Good question. I do. I just don't know if I'm I'm, for the first time in about 15 years, thinking the Hawks are really going to struggle to make the 8 with the likes of Sicily and Gunston not going to be around early on. I know he's got another year on his contract. With Sam Mitchell at Box Hill, I think he might tap out a year early, and I think GWS could beckon for him. I believe in him if he wants to stay. If he doesn't, I think Mitchell will then jump in. But I think the Hawks are going to have a tough year. I think they're a team in the bottom half. Anything above that is absolute bonus.
Yeah, the funny thing is, though, I spoke to one of my mates earlier today, and he said exactly the same thing. I said, we'll catch up for a Hawks game. He goes, the only reason why you want to catch up with me this year is because Melbourne will pump us, because we're poo. I'm like, you sure? For two Hawks supporters to say that in the same day, there could be a bit of pain there.
I think it'll only be short term. I think we'll come back. It's been 5 long years that we've had our drought for. So we've got to bounce back soon, surely.
No, you guys have still got to fend off a merge with Melbourne yet, don't you?
They'll vote for that. They'll vote for it.
Can I just say something? If you haven't had to listen to the podcast at the merge yet, do so. It is a belter from both sides. It is an absolute corker. Get on it. All right,
I got a quick one for you, Pepper. Will Buddy Franklin get to his 1,000 goals? He's at 944. He's got 2 years to run in his contract. He's 34 in January. Does he stand up?
No. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Yep. I say yes.
Right.
I say yes because he'll be the last player ever to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
He'll be the last player ever to do it. And I just think with everything that he's done for football, like there's not many people in the last 15 years that drag people through the gates. And he's done it. He's done it all. He's done it on the field. He's done it off the field. He married Jacinta. What more can this guy do? He is an absolute star. You've probably had a photo with him too, haven't you, Lee Mac?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. All right, here's my two quick two. First one, Lee Mack. Should Sav Rocker be in the AFL Hall of Fame?
I think he should. I think he's got the numbers to support it. That's the argument. Did he deliver a lot? There's players that aren't in the Hall of Fame that you'd still suggest should be in front of him. But I think in time he'll make his way in. What he's done here and what he's done in his career post AFL is still good for the game. So I think he's a yes at eventually.
Can I ask one further question? Do you believe that there is a good guy clause when it comes to the AFL Hall of Fame?
Well, I think that's proven with the likes of the time it took, the likes of Gary Ablett and Wayne Carey to get into the Hall of Fame, and the fact that they're not legends yet. Clearly, from my point of view, they both should be legends, but they've got some history there that's probably keeping him out of that. It's probably more the bad guy.
Jamie, that we said that got in, and we were like, how did he get in? Good guy factor.
Lenny Hayes.
Would you take Sav Rocker or Lenny Hayes?
I'll take Lenny Hayes.
I'll take Sav. Oh, mate, he's had 748 goals.
It's not the first time you've said that on a 9 o'clock.
It's amazing what you can talk about at the end of the year. All right. Jamie Wallace, quick hands for you. Breakdancing at the Olympics.
Bring it on.
Oh,
Bring it on. Why not? Why not? I mean, the Olympics is if I don't think the Olympics are even going to run this year. I think it's going to be really hard to manage that many athletes from all over the world. You can't do bubbles. You can't do anything like that.
It'll be like Bondi Beach.
Yeah, I'll look
Actually, I think that's something I think I'd love to do just once in my life is just spend a week in the Athletes Village and see. Imagine we did the podcast from the Athletes Village.
Yeah.
Lee Mack can organise that. He's got
contacts. That would be so breakdance. Why not? Well, why not? We've got the only thing I have a real hard time with understanding is it's not a sport. How do you train for it? How do you qualify it? What are the parameters we're looking for here?
Well, there's certain criteria on your pops and locks and your head spins and your back spins and those sort of things.
It's also your 1984 retro gear that you're wearing from Electric Boogaloo.
Right. I think Turbo from Breakdance 2, Electric Boogaloo, is going to be one of the judges.
Is it going to be an official sponsor for the cardboard they spin on?
Oh, yeah, Vizzy.
No, that's Vizzy.
Yeah, Juddy will be there sponsoring. Yeah, Juddy will be there.
Look, I mean, why not chuck something? It's an exhibition, really. But Has it got legs for the future? Probably not.
How can that get in, but something like netball can't?
Just doesn't have the global appeal.
What about triple
unfortunately?
jump or long jump, Lee? Do you still follow that?
Yeah, I find it a bit hard to watch, especially the triple jump. The triple
Why
jump.
you find long jump or triple jump hard
I just
to
get
follow?
some pain in the shoulder at times. I'm going to throw to J-Dog. I've got one for you. What impact do we think Joe Danaher is going to have at the Lions, good or bad?
He is going to have a 0 impact at the Lions. I don't see why they have probably I mean, it's cost them nothing. I don't know why they've recruited him, because they've got a pretty good forward line, younger than Danaher, who actually can get on the park, and I don't see what he's going to bring to that group at all. That's not his goal kicking. It's not his durability on the field. So I'm struggling to see what he's going to be bringing.
Does it give him flexibility with Hipwood? Because that's the thing I look at and go, Hipwood's the one. You could play Hipwood on a forward flank.
Yeah, you could. Yes, yeah.
He's that quick.
You could, but I'm not sold on Danaher anymore. I used to think when he came in, I was fully I was on, but now, I mean, 3-4 seasons now been wrecked. That just has an impact.
He has to get his body right. If he doesn't play for the first half of the season, so be it. Just get the body right. They did that. Geelong did that for how many years with Brad Ottens? They almost didn't play him for the first half of the season. They got him right towards the back end and just dominated final series. They've almost got to use him as a recruit, like almost like a draft recruit. Don't force him into the team. Get him right, get his body right, and then drop him in.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with Brisbane forward line. There's nothing wrong with their forward pressure, their forward line. It's literally it is Hipwood who can't kick straight.
Yep, he's going to.
By the way,
here's my big tip for next year as well. You reckon Leon Cameron will be the first coach gone? I reckon Simon Goodwin will be the first coach gone.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, if you have anything to do with it,
I'm telling you now, Goodwin will be good loss, goodbye. Exactly right. Okay, that's it. It's it's it. We're done. Can you believe what a massive year in sport? We didn't even go into the UFC. We didn't even go into the boxing. We didn't even go into the wrestling. We didn't even get to the Jelly Wrestling World Championships. We'll leave that for next year. First and foremost, can I just say, ladies and gentlemen, for our first up appearance tonight, Lee Mackenzie has been an absolute star. And I'll tell you what, Jamie, if you don't lift your game next year, I'll still have you because you're a star. But, mate, we'll have you back. Just turn a light on so we can see you.
That was the glare behind me. You know how my head works.
But, no, you've been an absolute superstar. Thank you for everything that you've contributed tonight. I know we've been trying to get this one for a couple of weeks, so appreciate you taking out your time. J-Dog, mate, you are the co-host with the most, and you still will be. Nothing's going to change. You're just an absolute star. You two have been fantastic. And on Peps, all I can say is have a great New Year's. Look after yourself. Lace out. We'll be back for our 4th year. I'll say that again. 4th year. 44 installments. This is our 45th installment for 2020. It's just how you want your year in review. Laced out style. Have a great year. J-Dog, Lee Mac, all the best. And bring on 2021.
Love it.
Thanks, guys.
See you, listeners.